is back again. I have a mic now and a computer. I'm leaving you in suspense right now because we got some spooky stuff in store. The fact that the internet knows as much as it does is terrifying to me. We have a boatload of knowledge about a lot of movies, games, and television shows that never even saw the light of day. And that's just stuff you can normally find with a Google search. Don't even get me started on the deep web. And when it comes to sports, past and present, we have a lot of knowledge about everything. From who is playing on the teams, to the teams that did play, to a lot of the locations they played, and sometimes even the time of day of a lot of earlier games. There are plenty of great resources, both online and off, for researching the history of college sports. One I recommend right now is Sports Reference. They have tons of stats, just an absolute boatload of stats from sports like baseball, football, basketball, and for the purposes of this video, both major college sports in basketball and football. So what I had planned for this video was I was going to use Sports Reference to compile a huge realignment timeline spanning from the 70s to now. However, there was one problem. You see, I like to plan these out with little paper sheets, or in this case, I used files on my computer. You just take these little guys here, just drag them there, voila, you got it. But there was one problem, one little nagging thing. If you go on Sports Reference and you look up a team, click on their year, and they'll show the logo that that team has. Like, let's say, Tennessee State. You go scroll down, you find Tennessee State, you click on them, bam, there's their logo in the top left. But there was one, and as far as I know, this is the only team beyond from the 70s to now that's like this, where they have no logo and barely any information out there about them on the internet. Welcome to the bizarre rabbit hole that is US International. What you're looking at right now is one of 5 images. 5 pictures we have of the US International Gulls team. As far as I could find when searching on the internet, other than this, we have 4 other images. This image here is of the US International Gulls team. I don't know what year it was from, I couldn't tell. This next picture seems kind of sad because it just looks like these guys are lost at sea and they need someone to help get them out. So I guess the rescue team was here and they took this quick photo. Here's the 3rd image we have of them, which looks like a liminal space image I'd see on the darkest corners of Reddit. I believe this was their practice gym, because in this next picture we have what looks like their actual court. In a game I believe is against UMKC, so this would have to be after 1989, but I couldn't tell too well, because the image is not the best quality, because of course it's from the late 80s. And the last image I found wasn't one I found, but it was found by my good friend Danny V on my Discord. Anyway, it's a hockey puck. This team had a hockey team, so I had to go looking for more. Just who were you? Chapter 1, Genesis. Quick disclaimer, I'm going off the Wikipedia page because there's not really any other information I could find online about them. And I implore you, if you have any information about this team, please contact me via my Discord, via Twitter, via whatever. I want to find as much of this team as I possibly can. So this story starts with the Balboa Law College in downtown San Diego in 1924. It was founded by a man named Leland Gent Stanford. Who is Leland Gent Stanford? Well, we don't have any pictures of him. But anyway, he would go on to found the Balboa Law College, which would eventually be renamed California Western and move to the oceanfront campus in the Point Loma neighborhood of San Diego. Now, there was another school in this area, Point Loma Nazarene University, who is currently a Division II school who goes simply by Point Loma. Did they have any athletic programs in the late 50s? We're not sure. We're equally as unsure of USIU's origins of its athletic programs. All we do know is that in 1953, a man named William C. Rust would become president of California Western University. His goal with the university was to, and I quote, create global understanding through a single university with campuses all over the world. And to do that, he renamed the university from California Western to the United States International University. William C. Russ would eventually get his dream, as the San Diego Reader, a newspaper in guess where, would refer to their university as, quote, a international phenomenon. Chapter 2, The Rise. USIU would go on to buy a new campus at Scripps Ranch, another neighborhood in San Diego, California. Eventually, California Western, the original name of USIU, would split off from USIU to become its own entity, which is still around to this day. Eventually, the goal became to become international, and they had a lot of campuses proposed. They wanted a campus in Maui, London, Mexico City, and Nairobi. They also had plans to expand to the Middle East, which they ended up doing. Their goal of becoming an international phenomenon was a reality. Here's a yearbook picture from 1990 showing all of their students, including one Abdullah bin Laden. Yes, related to that bin Laden. I am not making this up. Also, another alumni of U.S. International University, Academy Award-winning actor, Grammy Award-winning singer Jamie Foxx. Again, not making this up. Eventually, some point down the line, athletics were added. When? No one knows. The only thing that's really known is that they would join NCAA Division I around 1981. Chapter 3. We finally talk about sports. The U.S. International Seagulls, Soaring Gulls, Gulls, the name kind of varies depending on where you find it, were the athletic teams of U.S. International. And if you look them up online, you will find nothing. You promptly get a lot of results for the AHL team, the San Diego Gulls. You get a lot of pictures of actual seagulls, and you get one picture of the Hampton Gulls, another hockey team that was defunct by the age. Of the athletic teams, there exist 5 confirmed photos, as far as we know, and only 1 video. The only existing video of this team is a replay of a 1989 December 9th game between the number 10 Arkansas Razorbacks and the U.S. International Soaring Gulls. Keep that date in mind. December 9th, 1989. This isn't some obscure team from the 40s that we have no photographic evidence of. This was within the last 30 years almost. We have more video evidence of life in 1909 than we do of this basketball team from 1989. Why? Just who were you? You know what they also had? Football. Yeah, they had a football team. What information was there about them online? Literally nothing, pretty much. Other than the fact that they were at one point coached by Sid Gilman. Yes, that Sid Gilman. Of his time coaching U.S. International, he said, and I quote, "What a lucky son of a bitch I am finding a place like this for the last years of my life." Sid Gilman hired on his coaching staff 4 guys who would end up having long careers in the NFL. Tom Walsh, John Fox, Mike Solari, and Mike Shepard. To U.S. International! Bob the Goose Gagliano went here, as did Vernon Dean. Also other guys who would end up playing in the NFL, like Lem Burnham, Wayne Clark, and Dwight McDonald. As evidenced by their only video evidence, of course they have a basketball team, and one of their alumni includes Israeli Basketball Premier League player Kevin Bradshaw, who apparently holds the single game record for the most points scored by an individual player in a single game. He scored a staggering 72 points in a 186-150 loss to Loyola Marymount. 186 to 150. They apparently adopted the Loyola Marymount and Troy State approach of taking the ball and just chucking it as soon as possible. Evidence includes that 72 points in a single game and the score of 186 to 150 in that game against Loyola Marymount, and also the one game we have of them on video is a game where they lost 165 to 101. The only difference being that Loyola and Troy State were actually successful with this method, with Loyola scoring 186 in a single game and Troy State scoring a staggering 253 in a single game. Love you, John. Moving aside from football and basketball, they also had apparently a very successful softball team, making it to the College World Series one. They ended up beating Ohio State 1-0 and threw an 8-inning perfect game against the eventual national champions Texas A&M. And they lose to Michigan and Central Michigan right after. But aside from football, basketball, and baseball/softball, there is only one story that I feel is their strangest. Chapter 3.5, Hockey. College hockey has a very weird geography, with teams just kind of scattered at random. Division II does not sponsor hockey, so a lot of Division II teams go and play in Division I. And a lot of Division III teams also do that, even though Division III also supports hockey. Some of these schools are in places you'd expect, like Mercyhurst, who's a Division II school playing hockey in Division I, and they play from Erie, Pennsylvania. You have a team like Alabama Huntsville, playing from Huntsville, Alabama. Hockey, it's bizarre. As well as two teams in Alaska, Alaska Fairbanks, and hopefully still Alaska Anchorage. Go to SaveSeawolfHockey.com to donate to the campaign to save the Alaska Anchorage program. I know that this has nothing to do with the main topic of the video, but I just wanted to say that because they are so close to their goal to keep Seawolf Hockey alive up to the 2023-24 season. Even I ended up contributing. See, here I am. Anyway, back on topic. The most bizarre team that still has a program right now is Arizona State. They don't have a conference or anything, they're just there. Their closest geographic counterparts would be the teams in Colorado, like Denver, Air Force, and Colorado College. But other than that, they're pretty much alone in the Southwest. The only team through hockey history that would be anywhere near them would be San Diego's USIU. They played in the currently defunct Great West Hockey Conference, not to be confused with the Great West Conference of college basketball from 2009 to 2012. That's another can of worms in and of itself. The members of that conference included Alaska Anchorage, Alaska Fairbanks, U.S. International, and Northern Arizona, who would also drop their program. Interestingly enough, U.S. International would go on to win their conference's first ever championship. Because they didn't have the minimum 7 teams to be qualified for a bid, they never made it to the tournament. Eventually, Northern Arizona would drop their hockey program while they were still a member. So it was just the 2 Alaska schools and U.S. International. They had plans to expand with some teams that were moving up from Division II, Alabama Huntsville, Merrimack, and St. Cloud State, to name a few. But they never joined, so the conference had to dissolve after 1988. 1988 also marked the dissolution of the USIU hockey program, and it started the downfall of USIU as a whole. Chapter 4. The Fall. Because of the school's huge ambitions, it was now becoming clear that they were running low on funds. They would have to cut corners anywhere they could, and their first corner cut would eventually be the athletics program in 1991. And eventually they dropped campus after campus. They kept losing money until eventually, in 2001, they closed. The entire school shut down. All of it. It's just gone. The original campus is now the home of Point Loma Nazarene, as was previously mentioned. But the only living campus now is the Nairobi campus in Kenya, where apparently it's doing fine. When I looked up USIU hockey for this video, it showed video of the USIU Africa campus. Obviously, it was field hockey and not ice hockey. In fact, most of the time when you look up US International, you're going to get the Africa campus, not anything that existed before it. I assume it's because the images of USIU are just so scarce. According to some sources, they went bankrupt in 2001. According to others, they would fuse with a nearby Alliant International University, which would turn from a non-profit to a for-profit in 2015. Apparently, USIU tried the NAIA for a short bit, but the September 11th attacks of 2001 would eventually be the final blow for an international university in late 2001. Also, it didn't help that that picture of Bin Laden's brother leaked in 2001. This is just such a bizarre story. An enigma of a school started by an enigma turned into an international phenomenon with an athletic program that kept things going as fast as possible at all times, had a football program coached by a living legend, would eventually produce a College World Series softball team, had a hockey program that was at least somewhat successful, and was undone by the September 11th attacks and leaking Bin Laden's brother going to your school. And the only remaining evidence is a small campus in Nairobi, Kenya. Also, again, Jamie Foxx went here. Also, I quickly wanted to mention that this hockey team that they had ended up in Sports Illustrated. They were known at the time. How do you just disappear like this? Well, I don't have any satisfactory answers, but I do have something I want to contribute to anyone else trying to go on this rabbit hole. Those court images from earlier, as well as the hockey puck that my friend Danny found, They're the only surviving evidence of the team's logo, as far as I could tell. So, I decided to use those, and I made this. This is probably the best I could get at recreating the USIU logo. Basically what I did is I traced over the logo present on that hockey puck, and I based the colors off the ones on the basketball court I saw in that image against UMKC, as well as that practice court image we saw. That right there is my best approximation as to what this team's logo looked like. Once again, I want to say, if you have any information about this team, please hit me up on Twitter, on Discord, anywhere you can find me. I want to hear whatever you have to say. I joke about how bizarre this story was, but it was really genuinely a fun time looking into this. I kept feeling like I was discovering something that barely anyone else had seen before. I shared this video online with my good friend Dave Show, and he loved it. So shoutouts to you, Dave Show Jr. You're there in my heart. Thank you for watching.